again 12, and that is where you're able to kind of pick up some of those placement points merely by staying alive, and that's why you see the launch pads really start to come into form. First over second place, but an easier way to close the gap is find easy eliminations like that, and you're seeing the advantages of steamy stacks. I think I spoke about this in game number 1. If it pulled towards the north, you get free high ground.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what's your take on this? Because they just managed to build this huge base up here as well, so they have a lot of optionality.
And they don't even have to like take the steamy floaty down. They have the shockwaves. They can crash pad down. You can build and extend it outward on the other side of that. And I think that's what Rapid was kind of doing, scouting ahead on the other side of that stack. You're seeing already those ramps build. They have no plans of coming down anytime soon. And this is really interesting because in our previous 3 games so far, nobody wanted to take high ground in 7th, 8th zone. Now they get a free high ground way far away from shockwave distance as well.
You know, I gotta give credit though to Cold. He just keeps going for height. This time, you know, granted it's given to him on a platter, as Peterbot in the replay right there continues to find eliminations. That's actually a critical one. That's gonna put Boyo possibly back in the game now. You have to assume he has a full loadout to work with right there. So I didn't think I'd say it, but what an impact frag right there as they find one here. This game, back to Higgs and Clicks. 8 elims, as we saw the last one was on to Boyo, putting them in that tough spot as they've crawled their way out of it though.
Man, look at the backside of the zone though, and it's going to force Peterbot Boyo, it's going to force Yamzo, even Clicks and Higgs out of position, but they find through the stairs. Yamzo, with the help of Clicks and Higgs, an unlikely trio play being made here in the finals of the Reload Elite Series. Yamzo, unfortunately enough, can't even push in to get that loot.
I mean, they're just on a correction course here. Higgs is like, hey dude, didn't I say you're out of this game, buddy? Not so once again. So unfortunate that you didn't even have time to react. That's like one of those weird spots you can't even put a wall, right? Because they have the staircase there. Unfortunate for him. Cold though. Team have to come down. No one's really got height just yet. Yeah, I was gonna say they're coming off that stack.
Talk about what Acorn and Bolts were doing with the launch pad to get out of render distance. They already started in the clouds before the launch pad was even taken. Now they're higher up, but Peterbot is making things happen. Gets a knock and elimination onto Stiff, trying to get himself the material needed, especially if he's having a solo run. Rezi and Paper just trying to stay in front of the zone. Nobody at this point in time really confirming themselves as the team to beat on height.
Yeah, this is a tough one to hold height as well because you don't see a lot of other high structures. There's no mountains around, so shockwaves are going to be devastating to anyone that goes up early. I mean, it's going to be susceptible to an easy break here, but Ritual and Agers say, screw that. We're just going to go ahead and commit to it anyways, and they find themselves looking to go ahead and base up and outwards. We'll see how this play right here. Now look at this, just recommitting to structuring up that base right there, so they have somewhat of a strong foundation. Shadow, Virgo, though, have to make a move. This is a team that was holding on to third place pretty strongly in the first 3 games, with that fourth one now at play here is up in the air, and they've just consistently made these end games. They're very, very good so far as a duo. This might just be their type of game mode.
Yeah, and if any time is going to be the time to close that gap, it is this game here. Peterbot and Poyo down outside of placement points. So the only points they got in this game is through their eliminations. Bolts and Acorn, that's going to be our second place team. Agers, Ritual in the picture-in-picture, third place team. And you're seeing on the left all the chaos. Agers is just putting pressure upon pressure down below onto that second high team, which is Bolts and Acorn. So this is second and third place looking to clash, but then in comes a new challenger. Front side of zone, Virgo and Shadow out of nowhere. Agers, Ritual, they lose their high ground for a second, but they use that time to quickly gain it back. We're moving over towards the Steamy Stacks where they might be looking to connect.
Yeah, look, and that's the same call I made. You know, pro players recognizing, hey, that's not safe high ground. Like, it's easy to break, and that's exactly what happened. So it cost them so much more. And Ark and Kanata now say, wait, but this is a structure I can get behind, and they go up and over on top of the stack here. And just like that, they are looking to secure a victory royale. And hey, this is their chance to try to close that huge gap, right? There's a crater between them and everyone else.
Yeah, it looked like Sharkman and Yuz were going up for a moment. Ritual is going up for a moment. Fall damage isn't too much of a worry if you can get inside of the stack, so very less risk compared to most other situations. But Ark and Kanata, once again, land the damage. They send Rituals and Agers packing down below, but they realize we don't have the builds to hold it. Less than 10 for Ark. They drop down. They have no other choice, but in their line of sight, it's Acorn and Bolts out of nowhere. They're battling it out for the high ground, and right now, it's Acorn and Bolts who are on top again.
And they found the knock right there just as we transitioned out. 4 elimination now for Bolts. I mean, you highlighted that shotgun, and it makes you wonder why it's in Bolts' hands. It's because he's going to make the most out of this weapon here. But down to the low ground, Cold and Rapid should not be down and out on the low ground here. This is their drop spot, and somehow things have made a turn for the worse.
Yeah, it's either fall damage or storm. Cold still had shield on him, so nobody really gets that knock, or at least no credit for it, as Higgs picks up its 8th elimination of this game. This is what you have to do when your back is up against the wall. Solo series champion here, looking for a big game, and he's pressuring that team up above. That's I Am Enough, that's Teeks, but he is also has his head on a swivel, realizing there's players all around. I cannot get lost. I cannot tunnel vision at this point in time.
Acorn and Bolts had a 2nd place last game. They're fired up right now. They're coming back, looking to see if they can do something big here. Higgs on low ground is still cooking with gas right here. He's doing an excellent job putting up the pressure, but hold up. As I say that, I think Bolts actually lost Acorn in the mix, and then he falls to the hands of Virgo and Shadow. We were just highlighting how consistent they have been, and now Higgs and Clicks have their work cut out for them. They are very low material, but look, what a monster game for them.
Yeah, this is how you move up that leaderboard. This is how you start to build that confidence. They're one of 2 duos left in this game. There's also 2 solos running around that could play disruptors, Rapid being one of them, but he has no build. You're seeing him trying to mantle up and dodge everything, but he rolls right into the palm of Clix' hands. He gets back-to-back eliminations at that. Yuz falls as well. Clix continues to scramble around, realizing I need time for the siphon to actually work. Higgs is going to buy him that time. He tries to grapple up, trying to land the shots. One knock's going to come through, but it's Clix and Higgs who both fall out of nowhere. It's Virgo and Shadow that steal away the win.
Virgo and Shadow are the duo to look out for right now. They had an excellent performance coming out of the heats, and then just showing up right here in the final moments for a victory royale in game number 4. Zeke, I mean, you have to wrap your head around this. They've been around for so long. What else do they got for us?
This is what I was talking about earlier, right? MDF is finding those opportunities. This is an 8-game format, right? You just have to, even if you have bad games, just say, look, this is a brand new game. We are trying to qualify to EWC. We need to go. Last game for them, 11th place with 2 elims. Now they go out of game number 4 with a victory royale, placement points, elimination points. They are going crazy, and now they're at the halfway point. This is good. This is momentum. We've got some.
Oh man, I feel like this is very, very scary for the leaderboard right now. Right, we saw our top 2 teams that game kind of fumble, and now one of these trailing teams is going to pick up a huge win like that. And awesome to see Shadow back in the mix, and I feel like this name, we always kind of see it in FNC as final. Now we're seeing it over here in Reload as well. Great to see them get a win.
Yeah, it's a name that we constantly see, but never really give the credence that it deserves. And Shadow and Virgo have now finally showed to everyone, hey, there's a reason that we qualified. There's a reason that we're here, and we're going to make you work for that first and second spot. And honestly, Zeke, I'm really excited to see the leaderboard.
I'm not gonna spoil anything. We'll get to it when we get to it. But yes, I definitely think with this performance, this is really good for Shadow and Virgo, right? Because ultimately, with 4 games left to go, we just need to string together a couple more eliminations like this, and we could be looking to fight for one of those 2 spots going on through to the EWC. Congratulations to them once again. But I will say, before we take a look at the leaderboard, we're going to go to a break. First, I know. We're going to go to a break. When we return, we'll have that leaderboard for you, so stay tuned. We'll see you right after this. Welcome back, Fortnite fam, to the Reload Elite Series. Okay, we left you on a cliffhanger. Shadow and Virgo, they got themselves a victory royale in this last game, right? Where did they place? We'll have the standings in just a moment because, as Kelly implied before the break, yes, this does actually impact the standings quite a bit. We started that game, they were just inside the top 10, right? It wasn't too crazy. Maybe he was starting to feel like it was a little too far away. But take a look at that third place spot right now, right? Shadow Virgo jumping up because of that first place with 7 elims. I'm telling you, Fortnite fam, it just takes a single game like this and everything changes on its head. And the fact, friends, that Peterbot and Pollo fell early that game, right? They fell 16th, just outside of placement points. Guys, this competition ain't over. It ain't over, Vivid!
It's getting crazy over here on NA. Look, another team kind of jumping up a lot of spots on the leaderboard as well. Clicked and Higgs, man, they're jumping up 5 placements after that game. They're finding themselves on 167 points. What a great game for them. I mean, a second place with Hold Up Kelly. Let me go ahead and mention it here. 13 eliminations. What a game.
Oh, you know Peterbot and Poyo are looking right now with their 10 elimination games being like, oh, we can do that, we can do that. Higgs, from start to finish, did in the solo series finals. This is the Higgs that we were expecting, and Clicks showing up as well. What a shame in the final moments they weren't able to get the final eliminations, but still, this is what we were expecting to see them here today, and honestly, it's better late than never.
And I mean, shout outs to Clicks there in those final few moments of that game when he's getting to like reconnect there with Higgs. To have that chaotic situation and to hold the shockwaves for that end game moment, man, masterful control. But taking a look at the early game, this was Higgs, right as Kelly called out. Higgs coming alive in this early game, taking the fight to Iamzo. At one point we tune in and I'm just like, yo, wait, what? How many elims are we have already? Like, what is happening?
Yeah, absolutely crazy and incredible stuff from them. I feel like that's kind of what we've seen across a couple of duos actually throughout the day, across the first 4 games here, is that somehow, some way, these guys start to steamroll some of these early eliminations into more, right? Because of how Reload works, once that spawn comes down out of the sky, usually it's easy picking, so they can continue to just go ahead and snowball some of these eliminations into more. Early games have been huge.
It has been so huge. And another thing from this duo is that they are a very momentum-based duo. I know we say that's a lot about duos, but honestly, as far as like mentality goes, this is the switch that they needed. I can only imagine just how much more calm and collected those comms are going to be going forward. And hopefully we just see more early aggression out of Higgs, because clearly that worked out for them.
Let's take a look at that leaderboard again, right? The fact that Peterbot and Poyo fell early. This is very big for the rest of the lobby. And this is kind of what we want to be happening if we are the rest of the lobby, right? Them not being able to continue to like build upon this lead. Now it's only 30 points separating Acorn and Bolts from Peterbot and Poyo, right? Like this, if this were to happen again, the game obviously gets closer. I would love to see more 10 elim BRs from Peterbot and Poyo for sure. But guys, you know, just tiny little mistakes led to this early fall. You know, I guess it's just kind of talking about the nature of Reload, right? It's just 1 or 2 things. You know, you go from, hey, we get a victory out to like, oops, we fell a little earlier than anticipated.
Yeah, once again, you know, we see Peterbot in a solo situation here. We did see Poyo actually go down. He did get a reload in actually over there by the stacks. Kind of flew down and they just weren't able to recover after that. So Peterbot tried to go ahead and make something happen as a solo right there. But Kelly, I think the big point here that I want to make about Peterbot and Poyo falling early is that I feel like the biggest missed opportunity here was actually from Acorn and Bolts, because they were in second place. Then we saw them fall kind of early during that endgame as well, even when they were on the high ground.
Yeah, they had a decent height. 4 eliminations on high ground around zone 11. You had the Mythic Havoc shotgun on Bolts as well. They had so much going for them, and then they just weren't really able to kind of convert that into this early aggression that we've seen from other players. Also, another kind of surprising game was Cold and Rapid there. They didn't necessarily have a terrible game, but with it going over into steamy stacks, I was expecting just a little bit more of a control from the zone there. Everyone kind of rotating over to that northwest corner, allowing them to kind of stick on top of the stacks and control the rest of the lobby, but just wasn't able to really convert that into anything too much. But just looking at this leaderboard right now, looking at the point differences, honestly, from 5th up, I think any of these top 5 teams right here can easily break into that 1st and 2nd spot.
I feel like that's what makes Reload so entertaining, right? Like, again, we are now at that halfway point, right? So having these tiny little moments, because even if I think back to that game, right, the fact that Peterbot Poyo fell early, it is because Peterbot decided to get a little too aggressive, right? He's against the stack. He's trying to edit into, like, literally against something you can't edit to try and break through and find an elim, and then it ends up costing them, right? But Viv, I do agree, the fact that Acorn and Bolts couldn't capitalize more, like 6th place, 4 elims, still really good, right? But it's not that good when you look up and you see Peterbot and Poyo above you. We just need to try and do a little more.
Yeah, I mean, those wins, they start to mean everything when you're going up against the Titans who just pick up wins constantly. But I mean, Acorn and Bolts are just playing so good right now. The fact that we even saw them on high ground once again, kind of poised for another win, poised for doing just so well in the end games, man. You know, it kind of feels like the Peterbot and Pollo show, but when you look at the leaderboard, Acorn and Bolts, they're just not that far behind.
No, and Logjam, their POI Logjam has like, it's just honestly one a great POI, and they play it so well, and they have great mobility over there. I believe that there's a static launch pad over there, so that if they don't have too much mobility, they're still able to kind of rotate throughout the map easily, and we're seeing that kind of work out for them right now. Second place right now, can they hold on to it, Zoe? That's the question, Zeke.
I know, and that look, this is just me being nitpicky, okay? That's all it is. That's all it is. I love everybody. I want everybody to win, and all of us to go all to EWC together. Anyway, I know that time. You want more action. You want more games. Here it is. Game number 5 for you. Casters, over to you.
This is where we're at, Monster, the second half of the day. And I talked about this being a marathon with 8 games, but now there's only 4 games left. This has turned into a foot race, and we'll keep it going because Game 5 is here.
Game 5 is here, and it's time to face the music. Let's be honest, if you're looking at the standings and you see that there is a gap between you and that qualification spot, you have to do what Clicks and Higgs did last game, and that's turn on the pressure on the rest of this lobby and find eliminations.
Already seen a little bit of a difference. It's been either King or Jargu that's been able to get that first elimination more times than not onto both Iyamzo and Josh, and you're seeing a little bit of a different approach this time around. They're staying close together. They're making sure that they don't end up in a 2v1 or an individual fight that they don't, or I should say can't really afford to lose here in the second half of it all. Cold and Rapid, again, getting Steamy stacks to themselves. That means Mopping and the duo are constantly dipping in and out of Steamy stacks, and that POI, or I should say sub-POI that is right underneath. It may not be the best loot, but at least it's something to get their game going.
Yeah, you see Rapid taking a little bit of damage here, so obviously something went down, but nothing conclusive coming from the fight. Cold and Rapid, though, I mean, last game really should have been I mean, they did well, but I was hoping to see a victory from them. We'll see if they can pull one through for the days up. 4 games ahead of us, obviously this one and 3 more, so we are in the tail end of things now. Kanata Arc falls again, the first to fall in this duo, so he clearly is the one that Kanata's like, all right, you get out there, you try to earn us something, but he's just having a hard time. Meanwhile, just finding success. This time, they're going straight after Iyamzo, and one thing's for certain, Iyamzo is not someone you want to take lightly in a fight there, and look, he makes Higgs pay for it.
Yeah, Josh there, the Higgs moved over into their side of the map where they were performing as a duo. They quickly clean it up as he looks to disengage, and little do they know, they're sneaking up, getting closer and closer on towards Clicks. Is he still there? That's the question they're probably asking, and with Higgs dropping straight from above, they know exactly the location of where Clicks is at. Maybe not pinpoint down to go down and fight him, but they know he is around this side of the map, especially if Higgs keeps rebooting.
Yeah, and I think they're going to just go ahead and check this warehouse here in a second, but no, Iyamzo actually goes to the one next door. Okay, but they are still very much on edge and curious as to where he's at. Meanwhile, Jargo and King, okay, on in there, continued successes here. Now at 61 points, so things are picking up just a little bit for them here, but they will have to continue to do more as his shield just gets ripped off. A scare there and Osid in the distance.
More and more of just an early game battlefield to where it's almost a must, it seems like, with how aggressive teams are. If you don't at least off the first drop send one of your players out to try to get an elimination, it's almost like you're not optimizing your game or optimizing your performance, because that's what we've seen a lot of these teams do that are in the top 5. They hunt down those early game eliminations, so once we get to zone 5, zone 6, or even 7 when it actually closes, they don't have to do anything else. They already got their loot. They already got their points. They already got their position in the zone.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, right? Because then if you take that same kind of description and you apply it to Acorn or Volt, they're completely fine with not getting eliminations or anything like that in the early game. Instead, they opt to play for hyper placement playstyles, and it's going well for them. You know, one thing that was really interesting about game number 4 was that Peterbot and Pollo fell early. They actually gave the lobby a chance to close the gap. And, I mean, Acorn and team did continue to take advantage of it. So I want to see if Peterbot and Pollo get a little too confident because they kind of built this strong lead. That might be the downfall.
Yeah, just getting a little bit too confident, but now he has the exotic AR. That thing shreds not only through builds, but you're seeing the immense amount of damage he was able to land onto one. Shockwave's trying to keep Agers alive, but so is Ritual, just trying to shoot over the top. Pushing Poyo back, getting the shields broken, even tagging up some of that HP. That's going to force them to do exactly this, almost rethink that situation. But luckily for Peterbot and Poyo, there's all these slurp barrels nearby. They can easily get the shield and HP back up in no time.
I'm not gonna lie, Ritual literally saved the day right there. That
he did.
Damage he managed to put down is the momentum changer, giving him and his duo a little time to breathe and actually fend off Peterbot and Poyo here. To the other side are game 4 winners, Virgo and Shadow. What is their early game strategy? It seems to be they take their drop and then bounce back into the Dirty Docks here right now.
Probably just having a clean early game where they don't make any big risk, get their gold, their loot, and kind of stay around Dirty Docks. This is one of 3 teams that has marked this drop spot. Stiff and Eulogy, and then King and Jargu rotating over from Boom and Base. Usually it's Paper and Resi, but they know how dangerous this can be, so they immediately rotate over along with the zone. See, it is pulling towards the western side of the map this time around, so everybody's just having to be quick and to the hurry, but this is interesting this time around. This is kind of makes me frightened for the rest of the lobby. Cold has the double pump, the Wrecker Revolver, the Sentinel pump. This is almost like shades of a few months ago.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in the hands of Cold, this is a deadly combination here. So I like to see the dynamic style at play here, but at the end of the day, you have to hit your shots. One thing about Reload is that if you are not finding, your consistency in the game, I mean, you have so many opportunities to get back into the groove of things. Peterbot, Poyo, though, have found Vlex and Light here and continue to push them off the drop right now. And I was going to say, it's only a matter of time. There it is. They cut him off, and it's crazy because you watch things from Peterbot's perspective, but Poyo is always close by playing another angle. It's just really hard to get away from this duo once they set their eyes on you.
Yeah, and you can honestly see it, throughout history when Peterbot was even selecting his teams going away from Poyo. A little bit of a learning curve to play with Cold and Ritual, but he was the same most dominant self because he played with all that confidence. And now he has that familiarity back with Poyo. And even during the offseason, he was even saying, if I'm not playing with Poyo, I'm not playing at all. Fast forward till now, they're both on Falcons, and they're looking to return to that dominant form. Remember, they are the last global champions when it comes to a duo competition.
Yeah, I just think Poyo's game sense, right, when it comes to fighting is just elite, right? He's just so far ahead. He's a cut above the rest, and you couple that alongside Peterbot, and they are just the perfect combination, the yin and yang of one another here. Jumping into kind of what's at play here, though. Shadow, Virgo, they have someone lurking nearby just after picking up that Elim. Seems like they're content with playing as Dirty Docks, though. They just want to wait until things kind of settle in and mature a little bit more. Paper and Resi, they don't want to stick around for too long, though. Their decisions is time to go.
Yeah, especially if you have this far of a pull, it almost puts it in the back of your mind. Do we use our mobility now? And it's probably not a good answer to use it now. You kind of want to save it for later on in the game. We're already at the 5th zone, so anybody dropping here is going to have one hard time getting back into peak form to have a chance to win the game. And that's where you're seeing them prioritize rotating as much as they can on foot. If it does come down to it, then we'll start breaking out that mobility.
Osid, Scare. It's a team that's been playing with one another for a long time, through trio, through duo. I mean, you date back. This is nice to see them kind of making their return right now. 116 points. Talk about relatively impressive performance so far. Coming into this game, maintaining their 8th place. Last game being their 2nd best performance that they've had so far here on the day. So, signs of very promising play coming out of that duo. For Cold and Rapid, here it is. They're getting their hands dirty once again, and that's their 4th elimination now. Just really flexing the fact that Steamy Stacks, they have this drop on lock right now.
Yeah, and the only thing, honestly, if you kind of look at their stats when it comes to damage, they're up there. They're in the top. When it comes to eliminations, they're close by as well. It's getting inside the money points. And what I mean by that is that top 3. You get the 10 extra for winning. You get extra points for second and extra points for third versus the +4, +4, +4 with each placement. They have a 4th, a 5th, a 7th, and a 12th. They're just failing to get inside of the actual big money points. And if they can do that in these last 4 games, they could put themselves in contention of qualifying here today.
Yeah, I have to assume like Rapid's making the decisions, so it's either just a lack of confidence, because it seems like when they made the calls for height, I mean, they put it all on the table and that backfired, and they sort of tried that 3 times so far. So I am curious to see how that's going to continue to kind of develop, right? And if they can patch that up, I think they'll be in excellent shape, because clearly when it comes to fighting, I mean, we don't got to talk about that, right? We don't got to break that down or analyze it. They're doing exceptional in the fights. It's, I think, the end game decision making that needs to be worked on.
Yeah, and just taking that quick peek at Clicks and Higgs, 0 eliminations. It feels like almost a drastically different game than the one they just had, where I think they had 11 or so eliminations. Higgs was just putting on a clinic, a show for everybody to watch at home. So it's interesting to see going from that and having one of your best performances of the day to where you pull zone on this side of the map and you're almost forced to have things slowed down because you're already where you need to be. So hopefully that confidence continues to stay at an all-time high for this game. I know for Bolts and Acorn, confidence has to be at an all-time high today. They're the only team with a top 10 performance in every single game, a 1st, a 2nd, a 6th, and an 8th, and they've gotten eliminations in every single one of those games as well.
Yeah, Acorn knows better than anyone. Stick to the plan and the results will come. And you know what's really interesting about Acorn? He's typically like a late game tournament performer, right? We call him a day 2 adjuster, but when you have Acorn starting off on such a strong foot, that is a sign that he is in top shape today, whether it's mentally or otherwise. I mean, he's got to be feeling good after that new signing, so I think everything's just kind of lining up for them, and they still have a chance to come first in this tournament here. Peter Botboyo, as aggressive as ever, though, opting to go for that early high ground. We talked about this continuing surge of confidence, and this is a sign, Jacob, that they are taking more and more risk.
Yep. You see them immediately putting damage all across the map. That exotic AR is so annoying to deal with, and Peterbot has it on lock. Into the distance, light off the fresh reboot. Literally seconds before it turns off, he's knocked. It doesn't look like Vlex was trying to get the revive, but in comes Clicks and Higgs. They crash again. They not only clean up that elimination, but they stop them from reuniting as a team.
Yeah, they get it just in time right there, and look, this delivery of loot right here. They have, I mean, they get to get their share of the pick right now. Seems like shockwaves are all going to go to Higgs right here. King and Jargu making the on-foot rotate. Peterbot, shockwaves off the high ground, looking his way to make his cut straight across the field here. And I'm willing to bet they're going straight for high ground again. They're just sizing it up at the moment.
Yeah, they know they got a couple more mountains to climb, and their approach here is, instead of taking that risk where you shockwave and run the rest of the way there, they're just pausing. They're waiting for other teams to make their rotation in, so they're simultaneously doing it, so it lessens the chance of them getting tagged on the run. Cold and Rapid actually pop over the top and get that down on the King. So now Jargu is also left as a solo. There is more distance to cover for Cold and Rapid, but they are well on their way.
Falling yet, plenty of material. Cold now completely capped off, and we'll see what they end up doing with that. That's gonna again give them that second thought. Do we go for high ground? Their 5-5-5 coming into zone 7 is insane. Meanwhile, Acorn and Bolt, though, steady and true. They haven't even moved an inch. They just have that high ground, kind of looking over that natural elevation, but this pool's completely opposite here. It's going north now, so all of our competitors having to deal with a lot of movement right here.
And it kind of goes slightly down the mountain, kind of up a little bit, different hill here. So if you're that team that's on the front, on the low ground, you got to be ready to make some elevation changes here in this next rotation. As Peterbot's peeking to the zone, gathering that information, getting ready for his own rotation. They want to go ahead and get to the front side of the zone. They know there's more distance to cover as it continues to open up, but they don't want to have to play catch-up.
See how it's going to go. Shockwaves coming out.
Paper, Resi find themselves just at the edge of the zone here. They have to take a little bit.
But no pressure, no stress. Paper knows how to navigate these better than most. So Riley finally make their way to the party. Cold and Rapid showing up on the outside. They're going to take those mats and go for low. Okay, so I was second guessing of whether or not they were going to go for high. And they seem to have learned their lesson. They just want nothing to do with it. I can respect the plays here. And here we have it. The real game is upon us now. 17. Duels remaining. Do keep in mind, placement points are earned at 15.
Where it really starts to matter here. You got a whole mopping and regular up above. That's been the team that's been going head to head against Cold and Rapid over towards Stevie Stacks all days long. You said it yourself, 8 zone, typically a little bit too early to get high. That's exactly why Peter Bot and Boy are simply moving up in front of the zone. They're constantly looking up the situation, even building up when they have to, because they know how destructive it can get down below. Trying to get in front, they're sacrificing picks of the storm, using them back all for the sake of positioning inside.
Pinball does it so well, singling out the floor on a different layer, kind of hunts them down, forces them off, and now all of a sudden, they just have complete control of the mid-ground. Cold and Rapid on the other side, playing the slow ground, and it's kind of gone off this mountain here, so things are
definitely changing here. Bolts on the other side. Still no feelings for Acorn and Bolts. They're just hanging in, staying true to the front side of the zone. Trying to avoid pressure, but Cold finds Olsen there. That's their sixth elimination now, and they are flying up the leaderboards here. Still placement points yet to be earned, and finally opens it up, cracks open the lid there, and he finds his first one and a set of feelers.
Yeah, better late than never. A much needed one as well. The materials they got to keep them looking good. Peter Bot from the backside of the zone all the way to the front. No chance to threaten hide, or at least not just yet. That means regular mopping have free reign to just shoot down below, pressuring everybody else. Eliminations or not, they're smoothly walking through the finish line. Peter Bot is down, just like you said. There goes the speed bump. There goes a chance for Boyle to show exactly what he's made of. When we talked about this, the fact that they kind of fell early last game, opening up the standings for other teams to close that gap, and now with no Peter Bot, we've seen Boyle clutch up before, but this is a tall ask here in this type of format here, where there's again disruptive itemization in play here, but Boyle kind of biding his time here. Meanwhile, top 7 Elans for Aegis and Virtual.
Tabs on them as they're really starting to heat up here.
Possibly even up
mid-ground, the high ground, but no falls there, and it's to the hands of Boyle. Crash course between the two, and they just collide on screen. What a capture for us to watch there. It's Boyle who's just making work here inside the top 10.
Yeah, this is where if you're anybody else, you want Boyle to go down, this just raining in. Finally, it happened for everybody else in the lobby. That's a breath of fresh air, a sign release. The point gain has stopped for both. This is how you continue to close the gap. Another elimination. Siphon with the shockwave. He doesn't want to over-jump too far in his zone. He does it perfectly. Not only gains the elevation, but gets to the front side. So this is where Perfect starts to run out. 5 builds left. Immediately uses 2. Bolt is going to have to think outside of the box of where he's going to get the materials needed.
Cold and Rapid still in the game as well. Look at this. 9 Elans for the decision to stay on the low ground. Definitely the better one. That's where Coach top 5 and Cold gets in the mix. You said he basically has a double pump in hand. And Bolts didn't see him just behind the wall. And he is there to go and kick that door wide open.
Shadow still alive. He's the solo. That's solo. Cold takes him down as well. It's Cold's 8th elimination of this game. 12 as a team. They set their eyes on the sky. They're shockwaving up. Rapid is there as well to back him up. Mopping does take some damage, but everybody finds themselves back down below. Rapid and Cold try to reset the situation, but it's become exponentially harder. No build to protect. Shockwave towards the side. Rapid is still by himself trying to live here as regular and mopping are starting to heal off in zone. The Siphon, the HP, they have everything needed to take the game away from Rapid and Cold.
I was looking at that. I was like,
this can go either way. But
Shockwave play right there to really seal the
Victor Royale. Just genius play, and they absolutely deserve it.
Game 5 is now concluded. Regular and Mopping come up out of nowhere there, Zeke.
Guys. Okay. This is how I know Fortnite is one of the craziest games to ever exist. And if anything ever, okay, I want you to exhibit want you to guess where you think regular and Moppy were place one. You think they were in the top 10?
No, I know they weren't in the top 10.
Because they were last place, and yet they came out and got a victory royale in a lobby like this against the caliber of players we're seeing like this. They just ran the high. They just ran the high ground with it.
I mean, for a team that is not only in last place coming into this, went ahead and kind of looked at their stats prior to this event. You know what I mean? How much experience these guys have? Have we ever seen them in FNCS finals before? Nope. I've never seen them in any finals before. And for this team, not only come out of nowhere in terms of experience coming into this tournament, inside of the tournament itself to be last place, and then go ahead and control the higher ground, which is kind of arguably, Kelly, like the hardest thing to do in Reload. There is just so many factors that come into play to actually control that higher ground. We've seen some top-tier teams fail at holding this, and this team is able to go ahead and pull that off. Incredible stuff.
Yeah, I was so confused for a second, trying to see who was on high ground. I'm like, is that a plane? Is that Superman? No, it's a bird. And to see this team do so well on the high ground, and to have teams try and go and fight for the high ground, and then kind of not do that. Really, what was impressive is that it wasn't like they were fighting a whole high ground. Everyone was kind of on the lower and paying attention to each other. They were able to control that for a few zones, and honestly, hopefully we get to see more of them in these following games.
That's how I know. That's why I love Fortnite. Anything can happen. Anything will happen. Of course, where they might be on those leaderboards. Don't you go anywhere. We'll be back with more action. On Fortnite. Let's go. What's going on, everybody?
Welcome back to the Reload Elite Series. So, shocking developments here. Team in last place got themselves the Victory Royale in the last game.
Now the question is, where do Mobbing and VRD go? From where they were in 20th place? Well, all the way up to 13th. Take a look there. 7 placements up. I'm telling you guys, this is again why I love Fortnite. Anything can happen. A single game can just change everything for anyone suddenly. Teams who don't have the spotlight on them can demand the spotlight. What an incredible time. That's what we're talking about for.
Right? I just wanted to put a nice little bow on that. Now let's go with the leaderboard. Let's take a look at how things are shaking up
at the top.
Okay.
Let's take it all in here, guys, because what started as like a crazy lead for Peter Bottom Pollo is not the case anymore. Like this is very close right now.
Oh, I mean, I cannot believe it's a 14-point difference. Like I mentioned before, it seemed that this whole thing was just going to be the Peter Pan and Pollo show, but the last 2 games out of them have been a little slow. You know what happened in the last game? Went down kind of early on, and just simply rotated right there.
Peter Pan kind of over there. Pollo kind of as a solo to go ahead and try to clutch things up.
Man, Kelly, it
really stinks for them, but they are
opening
just
the door wide open for the rest of the competition to go out here
and contest them on the leaderboard.
You know how you'll watch Peter and Pollo compete, and then they'll start to jump on stream because they're already confident that they've already qualified and that they don't actually care about the remaining games. I'm not saying that's what's happening right now, but I do wonder if there is a level of overconfidence coming out of Peter and Pollo because of how dominant they were after the first 3 games, that we might see them trying things out, and I can expect that the next 2 games are going to go back to what we kind of saw at the start of the day.
Yeah, I feel like that's true.
Because like historically, you start strong, you kind of just like, alright, I'm having a good time, I'm coasting, and it's like, okay, you guys are catching up, alright, my bad. Let me just assert dominance again. Let's go ahead, climb my way back to the leaderboard. Here we go, 20th Elan VR, ha, you know, classic Peter Bot, we'll see. Plenty games, so 3 left to go before we close up the Reload Elite Series here. Of course, looking back at that standings though, Acorn and Bulls, 2nd place, again, right behind Peter Bot and Pollo.
This lead, again, it's the difference of a single game, right? Like both Acorn and Bolts can very easily close this gap, right? Especially with the fact that Peter Bot and Pollo, you know, they've kind of had some unfortunate situations. But you can tell Acorn and Bolts, they're thinking the same thing. Look, we can win. We can walk away in first place. $20,000 for coming in first place. It's doable right here, right now.
This is actually
on the back of a Bolts solo clutch as well. Able to pick up 4th place, 3 total eliminations for him right there. So great job by him to go ahead and continue to close that gap between him and first place. As we're starting to get later into this competition, remember, top 2, first and second place is what everybody is kind of looking for you, because that's what will qualify you on this year. All the teams that are kind of looking to get very close to that top 2.
It's of course going to be
third place, Shadow and Virgo. Only trailing right now, Kelly, by 8 points.
8 points, and that's going to be the difference between if you go to EWC or not. I could not believe them right now. The amount of pressure that this team must be feeling. Virgo and Shadow, one of the dark horse teams that honestly does not deserve that title, because Shadow has been an incredible player for so long now, and maybe they finally found their spot in Reload to really shine, to really showcase their abilities. We already got Victory Royale out of them, but can they get 2? I mean, with how they've been kind of running the low ground right now, I think that is a possibility.
What's crazier too, Shadow Virgo, 249 points. Cold Rapid, 239. We got Cold on our heels right now. The competition, no one is safe. Really quickly, we wanted to highlight some stats from the kind of first half of the competition. Vivid has pulled some stats for us. Walk us through this, because this is a little bit insane.
I mean, every single time
that Peter Bot is in a competition and we showcase the eliminations and the damage dealt, he's always at the top of the leaderboard, right? So it's going to be going in and leading in those respective categories. Like somebody else, Kelly, that we only see is need a specific set as well. It's going to be cool. I feel like every single time he's just the best at getting such a good damage ratio.
No one wants to touch Cold. Cold can dodge bullets like he's in the Matrix or something. I don't know how he does it, but someone that needs to be dodging maybe a little bit more. Is he also at 13 respawns? That's a little rough right there.
It's just Higgs, man, right? We saw him not taking that fight right to Yams, but listen, this is Yams, everything's fine, everything's chill. 3 games left to go very quickly for this last few games. What are you guys hoping to see? Are we looking to change things up? Stay the course? What do you think?
Oh no, we gotta
stay the course. Our top 4 is just so close right now. If this keeps going, our last game is going to be absolutely crazy.
Where's that goldfish?
Where's that goldfish?
I know there's a goldfish there. I want to see it deep.
I didn't call that out for
I didn't call that out for that man. She did. That's on her. I'm gonna light her up. All right, guys. With that being said, game number 6 is ready to go. So, casters, over to you.
Yeah, I gotta say. At first, I was thinking, is this gonna be a runaway train? Are we gonna have a boring NA? No, not anymore. The standing shape up. We got a tournament on our hands.
Yeah, even I thought.
A runaway train, a 2-horse race. Nope, at this point in time, we got 4 teams looking to take those top
and really get rid of the pressure for the rest of the Reload
Series qualifiers. You get a little bit of freedom. You can condition your drop spot. So for these next 3 games, no mistakes can be made. You can probably waive your chances goodbye if that happens.
Yeah, and hey, you know, Kelly said something exceptional. We're gonna break it down here in just a moment. Let's jump on that battle bus.
You know, Monster, usually when Kelly says something, I'm about to say, when she says something, I want to listen. So, what did she say?
When we break down Shadow, right? You know, I was trying to think, I've known this team, seen this team for so long, and then I thought to myself, what was the problem they were having with all those other games? It's their draw spot. They haven't had a chance to really get that tier 1, opportunity to loot, right? But you put yourself in reload, and it's like, this game is not a problem no more if you can get past that. So I think we are seeing this game mode really open up and possibly highlight the fact that there are going to be players that are going to excel in a reload setting that otherwise have a bit of a harder time in the traditional battle royale kind of situation. So if that all starts to come together, I mean, this is really going to take form and be a super interesting series.
Def, I can agree with that. Sometimes just making it through that big portion of the game, regular VR, and turning to a nightmare, especially if you get that max. This time around with so much mobility, a smaller, more condensed map, it does come with its own risk versus reward scenario, but it does cut out a lot of different risk in its own mind. You're seeing in the feed, he's going to go ahead and try to take down Josh. Higgs takes the usual fight against Ark early on. They did such a good job of closing the gap. If they can keep up this pressure, maybe get this elimination on the Ark, start to build up a plan. It will look good, but nice shot by Ark to shut down Higgs, and then he gets that slurp juice from it.
Finally, Ark bites back, man. We know what this kid is capable of. He is so good when it comes to his head-to-head clashes. But the last couple games had a little bit of a harder time in the first engagement. This time, no more though, so he's really eating his words here as he comes through. And now it's up to Ark and Kanata to see what they can do. They can actually turn this around and get the momentum against Higgs and Clix' duo.
See.
I
asked the question earlier. I believe it's his first big final.
Yeah, there it is, confirmed in the quick stat. Ark's first big final.
It's an interesting one at that because you get known for playing the regular VR, one of the best fighters in the game, and then you kind of get tossed in a reload where, yes, they might have practiced for it, but after years of playing Fortnite, the difference is coming into play. They're not necessarily having the tournament they would hope, but with 3 games left, there's money to be won for each and every one of these placements. So even if they don't find themselves in first, you can move up $2,000 here, there, and even $4,000 in some places on the leaderboard.
Yeah, it's a lot of money, as we all know. So that's just the bonus, right? We all know that the real fight is for the prestige when it comes to these players. Everyone remembers who took first place, but second and third are forgotten afterwards. But hold up. Looking off to the left-hand side here, regular mopping. Have just found their second wind right now. Coming off the wind. Now all of a sudden, finding some fast eliminations here in the early game. They just don't seem to be taken lightly anymore.
I mean, sometimes that's all it takes. That one little momentum shift to start to boost the confidence. And this has been a team that Cold and Rapid have been crashing on almost every single game. Lights and Flex as well. But this is a team that was taking some of the loot away from Steamy Stacks. Cole tries to push it again. He gets sent back to the reboot. Luckily for him, Rapid is still alive, and they do have that POI to themselves. So if you haven't watched it, you might not have guessed later on the game that Rapid's ritual tasers are going to take down I Am Enough. And this is where it starts to get interesting. You're seeing a lot of early game eliminations coming out of our contenders.
Peterbot, no shield right now on the box fight here. All went wrong. Let's see what's happening though. Seems like he doesn't care about Oliveira or Jason's HP. They can have the advantage. He's still gonna fight. I think they're looking to pause here. Poyo's at the other side, so of course he's looking to support him. Poyo should be the finisher. That's one big tag. Doesn't quite get it. We're just moments away likely from a quick Elin here. There it is.
Trying to see what loot drop from him. Yeah, no HP to regain. So whether it was Poyo and Peterbot or the zone itself, because of that damage, he was definitely on a clock. A short one at that. Takes time enough. They're back up over towards Slurpee. They're just trying to get the scraps that Peterbot and Poyo may or may not have left behind. I saw Rapid taking out Leaks in the feed. Now Cold is going for the second elimination on the light. He just needs to stay alive long enough, and you see in the mini-map, he did just that. He did get Leaks back to the game. Inching out
a little bit of
that
he needed there.
No, Cole, I love what he did. He marked him. He's like, I really want to take him on right now. Maybe not. Kind of out of position here. There could be another team. Looking at that player come down as well.
And then he backs off.
So,
played on him to just have constraint, right? As a veteran player, a lot of people see players like Cole and these other players that are dominantly known for being fraggers.
They think, oh, they can't make decisions. Talk about that. They're the best fraggers in decision makers in the game here. Back at it. Pushing through.
Oh my God. Shockwave, turnaround shot from Poyo on the chase. He gets blanked himself. Poyo does go down. Tunnel vision just a little bit too hard. On time enough. He gets blanked. Now stuck in a reverse position here. Having to stay alive. Nobody's really putting pressure on. You know he's going to get Poyo back to the game, back to their drop spot. So it's going to be no strange thing to find them with a good loadout again.
Don't forget, this game 6 here. There's 3 games in front of us. This one on hand, and 2 more coming. We really are in close competition right now. Peterbot and Poyo kind of easing up the pedal here. Have allowed teams like Shadowburger that have been consistent to remain up at the top. I was looking at like the overall performances from Acorn and Bolts. That clutch, that if you just look at it from a
bird's eye view, I mean, they look like they were playing almost perfect Fortnite, but these games don't come without their trouble. So you can even see Shadowburger not taking any risk here. They're content with being up at the top, running for a potential win here.
Yeah, they realize, hey, no mistakes. It doesn't need to make any big plays. They did that just to get to that point. Now it's just minimizing mistakes throughout the game. As Peterbot continues to go on that rampage, they have a 23-point lead over 4th place Monster. Second place is a little bit less than that, but it just goes to show, like, hey, maybe they're rational, maybe them going down a little bit early has hurt their momentum so far in this game, and it's happening again. Only one elimination split between them. Bridgewater Angels, they got it. Now they find another one onto Aloe. They too, at one point, were sitting in 3rd place on the leaderboard. They let it slip through their fingers. To start this game, they were in 6th place with 153 points.
That could have went any way. Richmond Angels jumped on Peterbot there instead of Oliveira down on that low ground. We could possibly see this whole entire dynamic shift, but Poyo comes in and gets caught again instantly, doesn't even get to touch grass there. It is all over. Jumping back to Chris and Drew. Game 1, they showed up. They had us all thinking, who are these guys? They are still in the conversation here. I mean, if you look at how Mob in regular rate pulled themselves from 0 to 13th at 80-point game, it shows that any one of these players in the 160 range can truly jump up.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. I think it shows to show, I think, over the years that anything is possible. Because Acorn and Bolts again under the radar. And one of the biggest differences that I've seen so far
is we watched Poyo, we watched Peterbot, we watched Higgs,
Cold, Rapid, hunt down their eliminations early when they are uncontested.
Acorn and Bolts are uncontested as well, but they're playing together the entirety of the game. They say, hey, if we're going to win or lose this game, it's not no desperation looking for eliminations. It's because we deserve to win this tournament. Such different play dynamic here.
On screen, Agers and Ritual go back at it here, making a rotate. They're going deep into the storm right now. Just content with all that they have behind, and they're going to play for the outskirts. Give them a little second there.
taking their time. I want to say I'm a little worried, but again, with all the mobility in the game, still early. It's a one-tick zone, fifth zone on top of that, to where usually teams are looking to play a little bit careful. 2 zones before reboots turn off, but Adrian's Rich, where they find themselves in the scuffle so deep in the zone against Chase. This is a team they've been fighting most of the day, landing near each other, but this almost looked like a desperation play coming out of Chase. He's on the clock, Poppy has no heals, trying to push in. The zone is just chunking him out. It almost feels like Idris knows what's exactly about to happen. Let zone do the rest of the work. He gets knocked. A huge giveaway, but lucky for Jace, he bought time. His teammates back into the game. It may be a bleak opportunity, but at least it's one. Yeah, Idris, all he has to do is just get a little bit of damage on him for the credit there. Just a second.
Turn back to get back in the storm to try to find the fight. You know what's kind of crazy about this is talk about teams being content and playing a bit more passively, right into the game. And then there's Peterbot and Boy. They haven't stopped pushing forward, but what do they have to show for all that activity, Jacob? Nothing. They only have a single Elim right now.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate the way some of these fights have shaken down. Some of them getting stolen away, but this game, Poyo was probably taking a little bit too many fights, kind of getting put in a blender. That kind of slows down Peterbot train that we know he can be forced to stay alive, get the reboot. Luckily for him, he does have himself fully in the game, not too far of a distance to go before they're in zone. Just the western side of Dirty Dots, whole opening into the middle that's going to open up in about 50 seconds. So there's a lot of space for those players that are on the western side of the map that have yet to touch the zone.
Yeah, a lot of control
there.
Or Acorn and
Bolts.
Peterbot,
Boyo.
Playing off that super pad
here, getting right into the zone right now. They see some fresh terrain here to play off of. Peterbot burns through so much of his break.
I don't think he expected things to go that way. And lucky for him, there was a couple kegs here still left over down in the low ground. Huge risk involved going straight like that. Not gonna lie for what it's worth this late in the game, but I guess the gamble pays off for them.
A small chance to kind of refarm there as well. But where this next zone is really hurt how much farm they can actually get. Anybody else that's trying to do that same thing on the eastern side of the map. And it goes far west this time around, so that is going to be a max pull for a good chunk of the lobby. Nobody really has the front side. I think Golden Rapid see it. They were set the situation almost the entirety of this time. And as soon as zone opens, they're one of two teams to immediately start to rotate.
Very nicely done. Quick decision making
there, no hesitation.
Clicks and Higgs on the other side,
just a single Elim.
Makes you wonder what all happened in that other game where they just really peeled the band-aid off and kind of went for it.
You know, we talk about a 23-point gap to start this game between first and fourth. From there, it was about a 95-point fall-off. And that team was clicks and hits. So with 3 games left, if you could somehow figure out a way to repeat that performance Monster was talking about where Higgs had at least 8-9 eliminations by himself, clicks have review, getting into the double digits. And if they can start to get into that money placement as well, we could see a team, our fifth team, I should say, enter into the mix in terms of contenders. Rays make their way on over. Flowberry Fizz mix in the Shockwave. That means they can one-hop their way to safety.
Old Acorn finally starting to get active. It does seem to be around the time they like to just turn on the lights. They just come out of the woodworks like, we're in zone 7, we're in zone 8. It seems like this is where they get the most comfortable so far. Acorn and Bolt are one of two teams that haven't respawned a single time. I'm telling you, they're playing this like it's a completely different game mode, and somehow it's still working out for them.
My jaw dropped. What? Like, how is that possible? Who's the other team? And obviously they're not